Hey guys, this is Rudy, and I'm gonna put together this video because basically I'm in a search for answers, and I wanted to share a situation that I'm in, and maybe there's some people out there that might have an answer, or at least a strong opinion. And I do believe that YouTube, what I get out of it is that it is a mechanism for learning things. And basically the situation is that last Friday we learned that my wife's breast cancer has metastasized into her liver, into her lungs, and into various bones within her spinal cord, as well as in her femur. And to say the least, that's devastating news. And I'm not trying to, in any way, shape, or form, publicize our personal matters to the world. That's not the purpose of this video. I wanted to share a predicament that I'm in, and as many of you know that have watched previous YouTube videos that I made, you know that I'm anti-government. I don't make no secret of that. I don't try to even hide my name. I'm very anti-mainstream everything. But having stated that, my wife is not like that, right? I know my wife for 25 years. I love her. I would change places with her in a heartbeat. But this is the reality that we have to deal with, and my wife is a Christian, and I know that I will meet her in the hereafter. So if there are any Christians watching this, if you could say a quick prayer, I would certainly appreciate it. I do believe there is power in prayer. Having stated that, I also believe that God wants us to use our mind, the tools within our disposal, to make the best decisions that we can here on this earth. I don't think that he expects us to act and use our mind that he gave us, and to do things to the best of our ability to solve the problems that we're encountered with. So having stated what I stated, that my wife's cancer has metastasized all throughout her body, I wanted to offer my wife some alternative things besides mainstream medicine, which is radiation therapy, chemotherapy, and my wife is very familiar with those because she's been through a tremendous amount of that with her breast cancer. My wife has also had ovarian cancer. So now that it has metastasized, I have did some reading on alternative treatments. One alternative treatment that I found here in Dallas is a chiropractor, and he believes that he can heal my wife with simply straightening out her spine and making adjustments to her spine by letting the brain, I guess, send signals through the spinal cord, and the body will heal itself, and changing her diet radically. So he's given us some papers to read regarding that. And if you speak to this doctor, I can look in his face, and I don't think he's a con artist. I think that he truly believes what he says. And he wants us to not take any chemotherapy and not take any radiation. Because he thinks that it makes the body weaker and it ruins the immune system. Now, my wife has already had a tremendous amount of chemotherapy, and I'm not sure that it has done her any good for her breast cancer, although it appears it may have done some good in her ovarian cancer when she was in her 20s. But the challenge that I wanted to share and make a public video about is, you've got some people in the community or in the medical establishment that are outside of the medical establishment that are all offering alternative cancer cures. And you can look in their eyes and that you can see that they believe it. And then you have the mainstream doctors that are trained in chemotherapy and radiation, and they believe what they're telling you is the right way to go about it. And of course, insurance only covers mainstream treatments, right? We do have insurance, thank God. It's not to say that I'm an asshole and I wouldn't drop my empire of dirt. Johnny Cash has a saying, it's called Empire of Dirt. I would drop my entire empire of dirt to save my wife's life. That's not the question. But none of that alternative treatments are covered with insurance, so it's going to get very expensive. Tens of thousands of dollars, obviously, maybe even higher. And the predicament that I'm in and my wife is in is all of this information is overwhelming, especially given that we just found out she has stage 4 metastasized cancer all throughout her body, and we're trying to digest all of this information and understand what the right decision is. And I've read various books on alternative cancer treatments. One of them is A World Without Cancer by Edward Griffin, where he is an advocate of Laetrile and vitamin B17. This other alternative doctor didn't even mention that. I don't think he's read that particular book, although he did say something about apricot seeds, and I think apricot seeds have vitamin B17. The problem as a critical thinking human being and a husband to my wife, and I want to do whatever is best for my wife, is there are so many paths that we could walk down, right? I understand maybe some places in Mexico that offer alternative treatments. You've got a place up in Oklahoma that you just basically move there. You've got mainstream medical practice, which is radiation and more radiation and more chemotherapy, which is going to ruin her immune system even more than it already has been. We know that's going to make her very weak. And then you have this whole list of alternative cancer treatments that may or may not work. But the people that promote them, I don't believe they're all con artists. But as a simple man who just wants to use his mind and his logic and his reason to pick the proper choice, it is simply overwhelming. You know, I look at all the books and look at all the treatments, and you look at, you know, the pH factor of the body and the alignment of the spine, and, you know, all the different things that come into play with radiation and chemotherapy. And it's like, wow, you know, how do you know what the best thing to do is? So again, I simply wanted to put together a video. I'm going to show it to my wife and make sure she agrees that it's okay to publish it. I'm not trying to sensationalize what has happened to our family, because I think this has happened to literally thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people all throughout the United States. And every family has to make a personal decision about what's best for them. But I'm just hoping that someone will share some information or provide a resource that I can read that'll help clarify things for us. I must also share that, again, I think I stated this earlier in the video, my wife is not anti-establishment like I am. So personalities do come into play, belief systems do come into play, and her family, my wife's parents, are also going to have their opinions. And I guarantee you, I don't know if they'll take kindly to the fact that my wife wants to visit a chiropractor for cancer treatment, right? That's a very big part of this, and I'm not going to force my will upon my wife. I simply want to offer her options, and this is not my specialty. I don't know what the right answer is for this problem. I only pray to God, and I pray for wisdom. But if there are people out there that have been through this similar situation, I can't believe, I know that we're not the only family. A lot of families face this. A lot of families go through this situation. And if there is a family that has gone through this and has a strong opinion about it, if you want to send me a personal message or some sort of reference book or link that I can read. And my job as the husband of my wife, who loves her more than anything, is to provide her with my input, and then she will ultimately make the decision. I cannot force my will upon her. Anyway, I see that I'm getting near the end of the video, and I didn't mean to ramble on this long. I meant to make it a simple video. But I've taken 2 weeks off work to provide support for my wife as we travel between doctors. It's just a barrage of doctor visits all day long, going to this doctor, the radiologist, the chemotherapy doctor, the chiropractic doctor, a pre-op doctor. She's got to get a port put in her so that the port, is allowed for the administration of chemotherapy drugs. So anyway, I wanted to share this. I'm not trying to make our personal family's business public, but I know there has to be other families out there that have gone through this, and there probably has been some lessons learned. And I'm asking, if you see this video and you have lessons learned of how this affected your life and things that you can tell me, I would love to have that material to review and provide advice for my wife. And thank you, everyone, and God bless every one of you. And if you're a Christian, if you could say a short prayer for my wife, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much. God bless.